5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. 3 left. 3 right into 2 left.
Welcome to Codemasters Dirt Rally. Hello there. Would you believe it? I've actually made a video that's quite topical. Announced and released simultaneously, at least on Steam Early Access, Dirt Rally is the latest iteration of rally game from British specialists of the genre Codemasters. The stated goal is simple enough: to take a step back from the more readily accessible arcadey action of its immediate forebearers and create a rally quote-unquote simulation. In essence, finally completing the process that many of us hoped would begin with the release of Dirt Shakedown in 2012. A split of the Dirt franchise between the flashy, bro-dude nature of the X Games and Gymkhana from the more somber tone of solitary desert tracks and pine tree forests. Now, if we're honest, this release has not been without a certain amount of controversy. It's not often we see large, well-established developers use something like Steam Early Access. For better or worse, the service is usually associated with indie developers. After all, this is the company that holds and plans to renew the official license to produce Formula 1 games. As with absolutely anything to do with F1, it's expensive. So why has it happened? Why is this game currently set to be a PC exclusive from a heavily console-centric developer, and why, despite being planned for release at the end of this year, is it using the older Ego 3 engine instead of Ego 4, which will debut with F1 2015 almost half a year before Dirt Rally is ready for full release? Obviously, I don't know the answers, but if I was to speculate, I believe that this is essentially the safest way Codemasters could devise in order to experiment and even gamble with one of its core franchises. Dirt Rally aims to take the series in a very new direction. Or a very old one, depending upon your point of view. That's a risky move, especially when you move in this particular direction, i.e. more towards simulation. The trend is always to make games more accessible rather than the other way around. By releasing on Steam Early Access, Codemasters have not only gained a more direct means of funding during development, but are also much better positioned to act upon the plethora of feedback being received. It's a means of risk reduction, a way to try something new and to let fans try to help shape the future of the franchise, all while minimising potential damage to the brand and the company's financials. So far, about 2 weeks after release, the signs are very positive that, as developers, they are in fact listening to the feedback being provided, and that's a plus for everyone. Now, having said all that, what exactly do we have on our hands as of version 0.31? Well, we have 36 stages spread over 3 environments. We also have 17 cars which are currently spread across the 60s, 70s, 80s, Group B, Group A, and 2010. A championship mode is in place, covering a range of 5 difficulty settings. It will also progressively add more stages until you reach the 5th and final Master difficulty, which will see you racing on all 36 stages across the championship. The championship mode is actually a part of the game's current incarnation of a career mode, where you not only have to go through the usual process of earning money in order to purchase cars, but also to develop your team. To start with, it's just you and your crew chief, who will develop both mechanical and leadership skills as you rack up miles. You can also purchase additional engineer slots and then hire engineers on a contractual basis based on their own skills. The more engineers you have, and the more skilled they are, the more damage you will be able to repair during the course of a rally. At additional cost, you can also purchase perks for your engineers that will reduce the time it takes to unlock upgrades for your various cars. It's all a bit simple at the moment, but a welcome addition nonetheless. A good team keeping your car in excellent working order across all stages can be a significant boon across longer rallies, and especially when you drive in the longer online challenges or leagues. Speaking of which, you have daily, weekly and monthly challenges, all online and all community driven. The main multiplayer component for the time being are the leagues. You sign up for them, you take part, times are tallied up and points handed out as appropriate. It works quite well for a sport like rally, which is all based on times rather than wheel-to-wheel racing, so everyone can take part in their own time. Finally, there is a straightforward event mode that lets you drive any car on any track, regardless of career progress. That being said, these cars will lack any upgrades unless you have already purchased that car in the career mode and covered enough miles during championships or online challenges to unlock those upgrades. All in all, that's a nice handful of features, and it's all really quite nicely polished for having just landed on early access. That being said, there are some caveats, and one area I would particularly like to quickly refer to is the number of stages. 12 stages per environment sounds fantastic, but it's not quite so straightforward. Let's use Wales as an example, and please forgive my pronunciations on this. In actuality, there are 2 large stages made up of 7 sectors per location. With Wales, that's the River Severn Valley and Guthron Forest. These 2 stages are subsequently repeated with the start and finish lines reversed, giving us Bronfellon and Sweet Lamb respectively. The remaining 8 stages are shorter 4-sector events that are essentially sections cut out from the 4 large stages. For example, Dyffryn Afon is actually just the final 4 sectors of the River Severn Valley. This isn't such an issue early on, but by the time you're taking on the longer online leagues or the Master Championship, which is made up of all 12 stages back to back, it becomes almost painfully obvious that you're driving the same parts of stages again and again in quick succession. This is where we have a bit of a catch-22. Make no mistake, I think the environments are wonderfully detailed and expansive, considerably larger and more vibrant than they were in Dirt 3. Look at that draw distance in Greece. Not only that, but we can see actual forests being rendered on hills that are literally miles away. It's a subtle detail, but makes it feel so much more like there is an actual world beyond the stages themselves. This is even true at night, where you might round a hairpin on your way down a mountain and see the streetlights of distant roads and villages. The downside is that creating stages to this standard takes a lot of time and money, which ultimately tends to mean less stages or tracks. Hopefully this can be balanced out a bit better. Perhaps if each location was to have an additional 2 large stages which are run in one direction, but when raced in the opposite direction are then split into 2 parts each. Effectively meaning that 2 large stages would create a total of 6 stages instead of 12. It might be less stages on paper, however I believe they would remain feeling fresh and more distinct for longer. Visually, the worst thing I have come across is this little lighting problem where scenery comes out of shadow as you drive along. It could be a bug, or it could be that the draw distance or level of detail for real-time lighting is set too close to the player's car. Either way, it's very distracting at the moment, and especially obvious around Monte Carlo during clear and sunny weather. Oh, and we have this hill climb section coming soon. We can but hope that this will finally bring Pikes Peak back to the franchise, as it was by far my biggest highlight of the original Colin McRae Dirt.
David Scammell! David Scammell!
This clip is used for comedic effect. I am not the nostalgia critic or in any way affiliated with Doug Water. I really did squeal though. I should probably talk about the handling and such. Well, it's a game. I haven't driven a rally car at 100 miles an hour on loose gravel, so I can't really tell you if it's realistic or not. Compared to Dirt 3 though, I would say it reminds me more of playing the older Colin McRae games on the 6th generation of consoles. That would be the PlayStation 2, Xbox and GameCube if you're not up on your generations. There are no flashbacks, and the whole thing is just generally less forgiving. In Dirt 3, you could pretty much go hell for leather 100% of the time after playing the game for just a few hours, especially because flashbacks were a very efficient and effective means of teaching you how to deal with certain turns and conditions. Without flashbacks, a mistake means restarting an entire stage, which makes it massively more difficult to perfect any one corner. Longer stages also make it more difficult to stay on that razor's edge. I will stress that, personally, I am playing with an Xbox One controller. I do have a quite lovely Fanatec Porsche GT2 wheel and Club Sport pedals which I spent entirely too much money on. But, to be perfectly frank, I can't be bothered to have them always taking up space or setting them up and putting them away every single time I want to play. This is a game I actually believe will be slightly easier to control with a wheel due to the vastly more precise control you were given, as well as force feedback, which is an area Cody seemed to be working incredibly hard on after a tidal wave of feedback in that particular area. In short, I like the game. As for where I would personally like the game to go, well, I have a modest little list to share with you. One of the hottest topics surrounding Dirt Rally has been mod support. This is a tricky little one to talk about really, in part because Codemasters do not have a history of modding, nor for their games being particularly mod friendly in the first place. In terms of modifying games that use the Ego engine, it's tended to be limited to replacement skins and database editing, allowing things such as changing driver names or the tiles which show a car's livery on the car select screen. To go from that into full-blown mod support with the release of a software development kit and other tools which will allow us to add new car models or even entirely new tracks would be absolutely amazing, but if we're being realistic, let's consider it a pipe dream for the meantime. However, one thing we do have, even now, despite the game being so new, is custom skins, or, as I shall refer to them as, car liveries. At the moment, it's a pretty straightforward drag and drop of replacing one set of textures with another. And this is quite easy in Dirt Rally, as most of the cars have at least 3 liveries which are just incredibly plain. A simple colour with a number on, for example. Given that I've seen a couple of official screenshots of the Ford RS200 wearing the Ford Motorsport colours of blue and white, I'm kind of tempted to say they're just placeholders. For that reason, at least as a starting point, if there's one tool I would like to see introduced for modding, it would be a proper wizard tool to add completely new liveries to the game on top of the existing ones, rather than replacing them. A simple tool that will automatically add a new livery and allow you to give it a description and easily insert a tile so you can see what it looks like in the menus. A rally game needs 3 things before it can truly be considered complete. The Lancia Delta Integrale. Check. The Lancia Stratos. Check. And the Toyota Celica GT4 ST205. Yes, the Sega Rally Triumvirate. There are many rally icons, but these 3 cars are distinctly gaming icons. Sega Rally Championship was a massive deal when it was released, and subsequently ported to the Sega Saturn. This was the first racing game that allowed tracks to have multiple surfaces with different qualities, and, as a result, effectively made rally games viable, as the car's handling would change when you went from mud to gravel and tarmac. It was also one of the earlier games to feature real and recognisable cars that were officially licensed and, as such, displayed their real racing liveries.
Sega Rally Championship.
The Celica GT4 ST205 featured in Dirt 3, so I dearly hope it returns. The Lancia 037 Rally. Historically, this car is very significant indeed. The 037 wasn't just an iconic car to look at, it was also the final rear-wheel drive car to ever win the highest level of the World Rally Championship. It even beat the four-wheel drive Audi Quattro to do it, which was an amazing achievement. As a rear-wheel drive Group B monster, the 037 is always going to hold a very special place as one of the ultimate challenges for any rally driver. The last time the 037 appeared in a Codemasters rally game was in Colin McRae Rally 2005. Over 10 years on, it's time for a return. Let's be honest, in the virtual world the car is being kept alive by the Forza series, and that just isn't the right place for a rally car to really show what it can do. The Audi Quattro S1 Evolution 2. Get careful with this one, since we do already have an earlier edition of the Audi Quattro present, and it's quite possible the Pikes Peak edition of this car will return in the Hill Climb pack. However, just look at it! The Lancia Delta S4 symbolises the outright insanity and dangers of Group B. The Peugeot 205 symbolises the perfect balance. The RS200, like the Avro Arrow, symbolises what might have been. The Audi Quattro S1 Evo, however, simply symbolises Group B as a whole. With an aero package that looks more like it belongs at Pikes Peak, this is a wonderful car that I would love to see return. Alongside the Ford RS200, it was the only Group B car to feature in the original Colin McRae Rally, and it hasn't graced the series since, again, Colin McRae Rally 2005. The Toyota Corolla WRC. Wait, what? Okay, hear me out. For me, the Corolla is one of the most neglected WRC cars out there. Pretty much the only game series to still acknowledge its existence is Gran Turismo, though even then it lives on as a PS2 era standard definition car. Historically though, it's actually pretty significant. This car was Toyota's final foray into the world of rally before they decided to go off and race in Formula 1 instead. Which went well. In 8 seasons, the Panasonic Toyota racing team didn't win a single Formula 1 race. Their best position in the Constructors' Championship was 4th. By comparison, the Corolla WRC only competed in the 98 and 99 World Rally Championships, but Toyota finished 2nd in 98 and actually won the Constructors in 1999. It was also agonisingly close to granting Carlos Sainz the 1998 Drivers' Championship as well as the Constructors, leading to some of the most dramatic moments in the history of the WRC. He was displeased. Nonetheless, it was an incredible performance for a brand new car in its debut season. Unlike so many other manufacturers that have taken part in the WRC, the Corolla allowed Toyota to bow out on top. It also featured prominently in Sega Rally 2, the original Colin McRae, its immediate sequel, V-Rally 3. And what can I say? I'm a big fan of the Castrol livery.
50, jump in, into crest, and boom, forward left.
Well, that's all for now, folks. I'm going back to the dirt.
And caution jump maybe into left 4. Crest, care left 5 long, tights to 1. Right 2 continues forward. 6, 80. Right 6 continues 80 and tightens 5. Left 5 bad camber, 80 crest jump maybe. Left 3 half long, don't cut, bad camber. Into right 4 half long, don't cut, 60. Left 6 over crest, into caution narrows, left 5 half long. Into right 4 long, 80 crest jump maybe. And right 6 continues 100. 60 crest. And left 2 long. Caution, keep right over crest. Turn left 4 long, don't cut, 100.